So I'm going to call this carbon dioxide research test number 5. Um, there have been quite a few carbon dioxide research tests. Number 1 ended badly with one person dead, I believe. It's very quickly known that you can't dig straight down. Or at least if you do, you're going to die if you get below head level. You can dig in, you dig up, but if you dig down, if you get below a certain level, everyone passes out and dies. It was the dead zone, you might say. Anytime you got a hole in the ground deeper than like 10 feet, people would get lightheaded and pass out. And maybe there's guys that could go in there and grab them, but usually if you brought them out, they would regain consciousness and live, or something. Carbon dioxide poisoning. The Incas knew it. The Indians knew it. Everyone knew it. We all knew it. I was the person that I wanted to know why. Why is it we can't dig straight down? So, anyway, but all that was known is that there was something strange about digging straight down. That when you do it, you pass out if you get below like 2 man's height, as they say. So anyway, but I was going to find out. I was ruler of some men anyway, and I was going to find out. So brave men decided to start and try and figure it out. And exactly where the dead zone was. So 4 guys started digging a hole. They got down about 2 man's height or so, and at that point in time, they started feeling lightheaded, of course, and started not being able to breathe. They were brave men, and they really tried very hard, but they still could not dig. If they got below like 3 man's height or 4 man's height, they would pass out and die, or pass out, and then of course, passing out in the old days was considered death. So, or a side of death or whatever, and then you come back to life. Anyway, though, but anyway, I wanted to be able to dig straight down because I was like, well, it's something I can't do, and I want to be able to do this, along with all the other things of like keeping people warm, keeping people fed. I had these side little research projects which were like, well, why can't we dig straight down? So, like I say, a small group of people started digging straight down, dug in a ways and dug down. They got down a little ways, like I say, and then they started having problems. I wasn't there, of course. I was just directing. And this might have been in Japan. So anyway, and then, I thought, well, maybe we should try pushing air in there, or fanning. I was like, maybe if we fan some air, like push some air in there somehow. And so I think I ordered some fans created or something like that, and they fanned. And they had people up on top, fanning down into the hole. I was like, maybe I forget exactly how it came about exactly, but I directed my people. I was like, well, maybe if we just stir up the air or something, or just do this or that. And so I directed people, and they built these big fans, and they started going like this. And I thought, it's stupid. It probably won't work, but lo and behold, what do you know? They got down about 8 man's depth or so. And we're actually able to dig, I think, about 16 man heights down, as they say. Depending on how tall a man is. I was like, oh, so it's just air or something. And I was like, huh. Well, all right. So I ordered the construction of a pump or something to pump air, and I think I directed for a shutter valve to pump the air, and so they did that, and they got down about I think about 32 man heights or something like that. I forget the exact details of the actual experiment for carbon dioxide. Anyway, but there's something in there that would build up that we didn't understand that would make people needed something that they weren't getting, and that's all that was known when they dug straight down. But we didn't know what it was. So I hired some British researchers, I believe, or tasked some British people to find out what it was that was in the hole that would make people fall unconscious. And I forget the exact details now of how they did it. But basically, a small team of people went and they started taking, I said, well, take some air samples, take some samples down low. And I was like, well, let's do, I think what I did, the actual experiment was we had people stand on top of the hole and they would just sit there and breathe or exercise or something like that. It was, I forget the exact details of the experiment. I mean, it was a long time ago. And they would breathe or whatever, breathe in the hole until they got lightheaded. And then they would move up. Anyway, it was this random experiment that was done a long time ago. And then the British took a little pod and put it down in there and grabbed the sample and pulled it back up. Anyway, they did this over about a year period or a 6-month period. But they finally figured out, I forget exactly how they figured out about the gas, that there was some, they actually were able to compare the carbon dioxide to the oxygen somehow. And this was probably back in the Incas days, actually, way back in time. And they figured out about carbon dioxide. I forget, those were different times. I was asking for things. I mean, it's hard for me to remember back that far. But basically, the point was it was all about mining, and because we couldn't dig a vertical shaft straight down, they defined the carbon dioxide and bottled it, and were able to then discern that there was a difference between oxygen and carbon dioxide. And I forget how we started manufacturing it. I mean, I used to remember all this stuff, because I was living it with my people, and they worked very hard to do this. This would have been back when I was black or something, or red. I was big red back then or something. It was a different color. Anyway, we defined carbon dioxide, defined why it was that you couldn't dig down, that you just needed pumps, and you could pump air in or have a mine shaft. But still, there was this, even with pumps, I think at like 100 feet down, people would grow dizzy, and I think with fans you couldn't get that deep. With fans you could get about 80 feet down, but you couldn't get that deep. With pumps and a pipe system, you could get down about 100 feet or 200 feet down. Anyway, I had this one mine that was having people dig straight down. And they got down about 100 feet, 200 feet, and then they got pumps and they were able to dig down even more. And it was basically just a random experiment. 100 people were doing this task for me to figure out what it was. And we were also trying to get a pure sample of carbon dioxide. Or pure as we can get. But basically, a hole in the ground that was more than 100 feet deep, you would die or pass out in if you went in. So, but then it was found out. We got pumps. We got ways of being able to breathe down there, and it was discerned that there was something down in there, because what we did was we lowered a guy down in there, and he got dizzy and passed out, went limp, and then we pulled him back up. And so, yep, there's definitely something down there. We just didn't know what it was. So, anyway, so that's carbon dioxide for you, and that's how we discovered it. And then later on, the British team of experts was able to define what carbon dioxide was. And we were actually even later on able to create it and manufacture it. Of course, it used one of my steam engines and my steam pumps to be able to do stuff, of course, in little tubes. And I think we had copper by then. And we were able to create this big machine that was the size of a building. And it was able to, I forget exactly how we did it. I used to remember.